But I don't believe a word that comes out of that boy's mouth. I have to beat the living daylights out of him for him to tell me the truth, and he still don't tell me the truth. He only tells me the truth when he thinks I'm gonna kill him. Like when I get a knife out, like when I stab him, like, oh, I just don't get this kid. But obviously, I have no limit when I get angry, and like obviously he said that I need help with that because people are generally saying to me, one of you are gonna end up dead, like. And I fully believe that I'm quite capable of killing him if he hurts me again. Or I'm gonna end up being in prison.
Abigail White spoke these chilling words only weeks before she murdered her longtime boyfriend and the father of her children. Everyone around the couple warned Bradley Lewis about Abigail's murderous rage, and despite Bradley Lewis's valiant efforts, he couldn't escape it. Bradley Lewis lived in Bristol, located in the southwest of England, in the United Kingdom. In March 2000, he was born to a loving family that prioritized being there for each other. As a child, Bradley enjoyed playing football and was a junior club member at St. Stephen's Junior School. After graduating, he gained experience as a flooring contractor through an apprenticeship. Bradley was loved and popular, a dedicated worker, and a catch for any single woman. But he had eyes for only one, Abigail White. When Bradley was 14, he met Abigail, who was 1 year older than him. 2 years after they met, Abigail developed a crush on Bradley, and they began dating. Abigail White grew up in a very different environment from Bradley Lewis. Her father abused her mother during childhood and split up when she was 4. When Abigail's mother married her stepfather and he entered her life, she began to suffer from physical abuse at his hand. After being placed in foster care, Abigail was eventually placed in the care of her grandparents. Things didn't get any better at her grandparents' house for Abigail, and she soon found herself in trouble at school for acting out and skipping classes. By the time she was 13, Abigail was taking antidepressants regularly. As she grew older, Abigail decided to become a content creator on Onlyfans rather than find a traditional job. Using Onlyfans, creators can share whatever type of images or videos they want with their paying fans. Although Onlyfans can be used for a number of different kinds of services, sex work is its most prominent use. On OnlyFans, Abigail used the name Mitzi Lewis and referred to herself as Fake Barbie Girl. She posted videos of herself participating in adult entertainment. Within a year of joining OnlyFans, Abigail had made over £50,000. However, Abigail spent most of her profits, leaving her in financial distress when her popularity faded and she became irrelevant. The content creation world is a competitive industry, and Abigail's earnings were down to £12,000 a year after her 15 minutes of fame. Abigail couldn't afford to support herself due to the decrease in income and had to rely on Bradley's money to support their growing family. They had 4 children together, one from Bradley's previous relationship by 2021. At this time, Abigail and Bradley were having a tough time. A big part of Abigail's life was drug use and drinking. As a couple, they had a turbulent relationship, which she called very tough. While she claimed Bradley was manipulative, she also admitted being unfaithful to him. Friends of Abigail and Bradley claimed that their relationship is toxic and possessive. They warned Bradley that Abigail was dangerous, but he ignored their warnings. Even Bradley's mother disliked Abigail. As a mother, she knew Abigail was not treating her son well. Bradley and Abigail separated after Abigail's behavior became so problematic that social services became involved. The social worker recommended Bradley move into his mom's house. However, soon he was back at Abigail's every night as she manipulated him into coming home to sleep with her. In her social media posts, Abigail White revealed her egotistical and narcissistic nature. She was always trying to get attention. Abigail once posted a video to TikTok, hoping to make Bradley jealous of Tinder's message noise. Despite her attempt to portray a picture-perfect life, Abigail's rage would take over, and she would use social media to intimidate people to fight online. In public, Abigail would criticize Bradley and once threatened to stab him. A recording of Abigail's conversation with someone revealed she often beat Bradley up to get him to tell her the truth. Bradley and Abigail's relationship had reached a dangerous point by the beginning of 2021. After a volatile argument, Abigail stabbed Bradley in the arm on March 19th, leaving him with a massive wound. When authorities arrived on scene, Bradley claimed that he had stabbed himself by accident. He loved Abigail very much and was willing to do anything to keep her out of trouble. After Bradley's injury was treated at the hospital, he returned to live with Abigail. Their history and the fact that they had children made Bradley feel confined to Abigail. Abigail's behavior continued to deteriorate after Bradley's release from the hospital, and everything culminated on March 25th. On March 25th, 2021, at 8:10 p.m., a neighbor heard screams from Abigail and Bradley's apartment. Abigail screamed back that he wasn't breathing when the neighbor asked what was wrong. The neighbor called 999 immediately, and paramedics arrived at the scene. As the paramedics worked to save Bradley's life, they noticed that the scene was covered in blood and that the bloody knife was lying on the radiator. When the police arrived, Abigail appeared terrified as they questioned her. According to Abigail, Bradley stabbed himself during a heated argument. This idea, however, was not entirely popular with the police, and further investigation was required. Investigators couldn't understand why a young father of 4 with so much to live for would do such a thing. Although Abigail was permitted to accompany Bradley to the hospital, the police closely monitored her. When Bradley arrived at the hospital, he was beyond help and was declared dead at 1:30 a.m. Bradley's death shattered his family and left them with many questions. During Bradley's autopsy, his cause of death was determined to be a single stab wound to the chest that penetrated the heart. Investigators had already started looking into Abigail and Bradley's relationship and discovered that the couple had many problems, especially recently. The police heard that Bradley had accidentally stabbed himself in the arm only days earlier. The investigators interviewed friends of the couple at the police station, and they said that Bradley and Abigail's relationship had recently become more volatile than usual. After Bradley disclosed he had had an affair to Abigail, she did not take the news well. Abigail was arrested on suspicion of murder, but did not provide any information to the police during the interview. Instead, she handed them a letter she wrote with her attorney stating Bradley had tried to kill himself with a knife, and she grabbed it from him. In her statement, Abigail noted that she was able to get the knife from Bradley's grip. However, he chased her down the hallway, grabbed her wrist, and stabbed himself. Investigators had trouble believing that's how the events of March 25, 2021 had actually occurred. Several weeks later, Abigail pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Details of the night Bradley was murdered came to light during the trial of Abigail in 2022. According to testimonies from Abigail and Bradley's friends, Bradley realized things between the couple were irreparable after Abigail had stabbed him. He decided he was planning to end the relationship. CCTV footage captured Abigail, Bradley, and some friends entering a bar at 5 p.m. on March 21, 2021, after meeting at the park. Abigail began doing drugs once they reached another pub. Intoxicated, Abigail started fighting with several other patrons at the bar. One of Bradley's friends found him upset, crying in the bathroom. He confided in his friend that he was afraid of Abigail and needed to get away from her. Bradley feared that leaving her would only escalate her behavior. Shortly after Bradley spoke to his friend in the bathroom, Abigail slapped a male bar patron. In response, he hit her back. After Bradley did not defend her, Abigail became angry and threw her drink at him. Their friends had to separate them after the two got into an argument. At 7:50 p.m., Abigail told Bradley she was ready to go home, and they got a ride. Bradley and Abigail fought the entire way home, according to their friend who drove them. When he stopped outside their house, Abigail stormed inside, and Bradley told his friends he would be dead when he got home. His friends didn't think Bradley was serious, but they told him to give them a call if he needed anything. An ambulance arrived outside Bradley and Abigail's house in 20 minutes, and Bradley was pronounced dead later that evening. Despite Abigail's admissions of manslaughter, a mountain of evidence proved Bradley's death was not an accident. Several threatening texts were sent by Abigail to Bradley, telling him she was going to stab him. According to one message, Abigail threatened Bradley with killing his mother in front of him. 6 days before stabbing Bradley, Abigail searched Google for stabbing and related terms. A psychiatrist examined Abigail in the pretrial phase, and his findings were very interesting. The doctor said Abigail was poor at controlling her anger and had poor coping skills for her negative emotions. At Abigail's trial, a forensic psychiatrist testified that Abigail had borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is a mental illness with symptoms like severe mood swings with no identifiable causes. The doctor said at trial that Abigail was under extreme stress before Bradley was stabbed. She had an induced abortion and dealt with Bradley's infidelity and subsequent separation. The jury convicted Abigail of murder after 12 hours of deliberation and sentenced her to life in prison. In October 2039, Abigail will be eligible for parole after serving 18 years. Bradley's parents are devastated by his death. Bradley's murder has been the worst thing to ever happen to them and completely changed their lives. Bradley's father told the Daily Mail, "We are in a sense lucky as a family to have and still receive overwhelming support from everyone that knew Brad or knows us, and I thank those people for that." Brad would say, "That's enough, Dad. Stop going on." To which I would reply, "That's my boy." He said, "No parent should ever have to go through what I have suffered. It is the hardest thing I have ever been through in my life." There are times when Bradley's father told the Daily Mail that he feels completely numb and emotionally empty. Just getting through the day is difficult. Bradley's mother has no compassion for her son's murderer and says, "There is no rest from my grief. I want Abigail White to know I will never forgive her for killing my son and destroying my life." According to Bradley's mother, her world ended when the police arrived at her front door to tell her that her son was dead. In a final heartbreaking quote to the Daily Mail, Bradley's grieving mother said, "The shock and distress I felt is something that is with me every single day, and I think of it for the rest of my life. It is something no parent should have to go through, and I find it difficult to function at all. He was a special son to me, and we had a great bond throughout his life. He was a loving and caring person to all of us." Bradley's children have no mother or father to raise them. As a consequence of Abigail White's decision to stab Bradley Lewis, she left many other victims in her wake. What do you think about the case of Abigail White? Did she murder Bradley in cold blood, or was it accidental? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe.